take the opportunity to commend the farsightedness and the sense of purpose of the Southwest governors under the auspices of the Development Agenda of Western Nigeria, DAWN, for initiating and thinking through a 25-year master plan for the region. It is also eminently logical that those who are likely to be here in 25 years' time should be here to make an input into this very important master plan. People accuse us in this part of the world of not planning enough. They say that we just want to live by day to day. We want to live month to month. But I think that the Dawn Commission and Southwest governors have shown great foresight, and they have presented a great example by planning 25 years ahead from today. And it's important because we are told by the year 2050 we will be, and that is Nigeria, the third or the fourth most populous nation on earth. Anyone who knows that we are going to be the fourth most populous nation in the world must begin to plan now, because that future is in a very short while already here with us. The acting director of DAWN has told us why we're here, and he said in particular that we want to get the inputs of the young people who are here. But I'd like to simply throw in a few thoughts on what I consider the fundamentals to the success of individuals and societies. I'm not going to talk about the things that are already in the master plan. The master plan already talks about education, talks about healthcare, it talks about technology and innovation, etc. But I want to talk about something that I consider the foundations of the success of any community or society or nation, and the foundation of the success of individuals, wherever they may be. That foundation is something that is called values. Values. And if you look at, even in any culture at all, any society that has succeeded, values are crucial. The values of that society, the values of that economy. Whatever you have seen that is successful, underlying it must be some values. If there are no values, no plan works. If there are no values, society does not work. And values are the fundamental principles of any society. Now, in our culture, in the Yoruba culture, we call it omoluabi, which denotes character. It denotes character, hard work, integrity, courage, the pursuit of excellence. In other cultures, they call it different names, but the principles are the same. The principles that have made countries of other countries successful are the same as the principles that we must work on. When our forefathers developed the culture of Omoluabi, or the ethos of Omoluabi, they knew even then that those were the principles that will lead to success. And there is no country on the face of the earth, whether they are Caucasian or Arabs, wherever they may be, whoever they may be, they have had to rely on these principles. So there is nothing new about what we are saying when we say that Omoluabi is a fundamental principle for our own development. And I'll just take you through a few of the principles, just so that we understand that as part of our 25-year development plan, if we don't enthrone values as a fundamental principle, not much will happen. The first is to recognize that talent by itself, potential by itself means nothing. Potential or talent does not mean anything if there is no character, if there is no hard work, if there is no integrity. Talent is nothing at all. The richest place in the world today, the place that has the richest potential, mineral potential in the world, is in Africa. and that is in the lake region. That is where the largest mineral deposit in the world is, but it's also one of the poorest places in the world. The reason is because no matter how much talent you have, no matter how much potential you have, without character, without hard work, and when I say character, I mean hard work, integrity, without those principles, and I'll talk about them very quickly, there is no way that progress can be made. The greatest problem that our own country has is an absence of integrity. That is the greatest problem we have. The greatest problem we have is corruption. If we remove corruption, we would have solved 70% of our problems. So integrity is key for the individual, integrity is key for a nation. And one of the things that I want you to realize is that every example you see anywhere in the world, some people must make the sacrifice of honesty. Some people must make that sacrifice. Today we find that people start small businesses. Somebody was telling me the other day of a business that she started, making cards, making greeting cards. After about a year, she discovered that she was losing money and she wasn't making money. She suddenly found that 2 graduates that she had employed, who were working with her, had opened their own store somewhere in another part of Lagos, and they were selling her own cards. They were stealing her inventory and selling it in their own shops. The truth of the matter is that if we don't ensure that businesses can thrive, nobody will be able to create the opportunities for others. The reason why it's difficult for people to open branches of their businesses is because if you are not there where your business is, if you are not there every day, you might as well forget the business. That's one of the reasons why people cannot open a chain of stores. Because if you are not there to oversee it yourself, then you better forget it. Every society that does not emphasize integrity always fails. There is no society that has not emphasized integrity and that has succeeded. Many places that you go to in the world, I always tell the story of my days as a postgraduate student in the United Kingdom. There was a particular occasion when I could not pay my school fees because we had delays in the central bank, long delays, and it was very difficult to get money across. So I went to the supervisor, to one of our counselors in the university, and explained that I couldn't pay my fees and my fees were already late. And he said to me, why don't you go to the bank and borrow money? And I said, how can I go and borrow money when I don't have any money? I don't even have any collateral. I said, no, go and explain. And so I went. And I spoke to a lady across the counter in the bank that I used at the time as a student. And she looked at the ledger, looked at my ledger, saw that money had come in and gone out, but I think I had about 30 or 40 pounds left at the time. I said, how much was it that I needed for my school fees? I said, 600 pounds. She said, when was I going to get my check? I said, well, I expect maybe maximum 2 months. I said, okay. And she went, brought the 600 pounds. I signed a piece of paper. I didn't go to any office. I crossed the counter. And she gave me the 600 pounds. Of course, when my check came, they got it and we paid back. That was 1981. By 1984, in the same United Kingdom, it was difficult for Nigerians, anyone who had a Nigerian passport, to open a bank account in the same bank. Not to borrow money, to even open a bank account. Because many young Nigerian students had assumed that these people are very stupid people. That anybody who can give credit in the way that I was given credit, anybody who allows you a credit card must be very foolish. So they had refused to pay back. Many Nigerians just went in there, took money, ran home. And by such reason, it became impossible for a whole generation of Nigerians to even open bank accounts, let alone lend money. There is no question at all that any society that does not emphasize integrity and does not stand on integrity cannot succeed. Because the whole economy is based on trust. Even the currency that you spend is based on trust. We assume that there is something to back that currency. It's purely based on trust. Business is based on trust. If you lose that trust, and many times as Nigerians we have lost that trust, even dealing with international partners, we have lost that trust. So it's important for us to understand that no matter what we do, we must emphasize this Omoluabi efforts, the efforts of integrity, hard work, and this has been emphasized repeatedly. Dr. Akimobi emphasized it. Hard work. It is so crucial. Without hard work, it's impossible to do much. And nobody, I mean, the people say all sorts of things. People say, okay, if you are well connected, you will be a success. There is a limit to what connections can do. There is a limit. Even when you are connected enough to be given a job, if you are not serious and hardworking at that job, you will not move at that job. You will not get another assignment. So hard work is crucial. I was listening to Governor Ebeshola, who was saying that it was while he was working at the June 12 project that he met Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I met him in 1998 when, just immediately after the elections, when we were planning for the new government of Lagos State. And the conversations we had at that time were conversations about how to build great societies. It's incredible that even today, we are still having those conversations. Every time I meet him, from 1998 till now, we are talking about what is it that needs to be done to move further, to get better, to do more. Hard work is crucial. There's nothing that we can achieve without hard work. I listened to the managing director of No Leftovers, the lady who spoke so well about her own progress. It was a very short presentation, but very powerful. Powerful because she told us how she started very quickly and told us where she is today. But you must also recognize that in between her starting and where she is today, there's so much that she didn't tell us. She would not have told us how many times she failed in that business before she attained the success that she attained. I remember a lady also who owned a restaurant just close to the church that I pastored in Ikoyi many years ago, about 2000. She owned a restaurant called Chinaville, a Chinese restaurant. And I remember going there with a group of people one day. There was nobody else there, just myself and about 6 other people. And we sat down. For the entire period that we were there, not one single person walked in. But then we spoke to her, and she said we were the first customers that she was going to have in the last 3 days. And that every day she had to pour away the food. Every day. She would cook the food and pour it away. She said what was so sad was that she was working in a bank. She gave it up, sold her car, raised a little money from her parents and started this business. But that she had been having it so tough that every single day, many times, there will be only one customer. Other times there will be no customer. But we encouraged her and said, well, that is the way to begin. If you stick with it, if you are resolute and work hard at it, one day you will see progress. Chinaville restaurant today is in Victoria Island, and it's a very, very successful Chinese restaurant. But I remember one day when we saw her, myself and my wife and a minister in our church, saw this lady in a red Jeep, very beautiful red Jeep. And the minister in my church pointed to her and said, isn't that Chinaville woman? This Chinese thing is very successful. It's so easy. So it's so easy to buy a Jeep from a Chinese restaurant. I had to tell the minister that there were days and and years when this woman was throwing away food, losing money, weeping every day. But because she stuck to it, because she worked hard, and she remained at it long enough, today you see her riding a red Jeep and her gele is big and fanciful. It is only hard work. It is only staying there, the courage and persistence to remain there, that can get us as individuals and as a nation from one point to the other. I study very closely what young people are doing all over Nigeria. I studied very, very closely. I have a group of young people working with me. I'm sure there are over 60 different, in different fields of expertise. Some working in power, some in oil and gas, some in management, some in employment. I have a few of them are here with me. In various areas, these are Nigerian young people, very, very dedicated, very hardworking, experts in their field. And they are multitasking individuals. They can do a variety of things. Some of them engineers, but when you hear them talk about agriculture, you'll be amazed. Some of them who are power experts, when you hear them talking about public health, you'll be amazed. Young people, almost all of them under 40, but they are so talented and they are all over the place doing great things. Now, as I said, I study very closely what young people are doing. And the reason why I study what young people are doing is because I recognize that this country, which is the largest economy in Africa, is the key to the future, not just of Africa, but the key to the future of the development of our world. What is left, the places that are left to make the kind of growth and progress that the world can make are not very many. Africa is one such place. So we must watch closely what is happening in Nigeria. And that's one of the reasons why I watch and see what exactly young people are doing and try and encourage them at every stage. Today, you will see that so many young people are in industry. So many are in technology, doing all sorts of things. If you look at, I'm sure many of us have come across Iroko TV, which is something in the area of entertainment. They show a lot of Nollywood films, and the young man who is the proprietor has become so successful that so many international parties want to buy into that business. That is just one example. There's Jobberman. I'm sure most of us know Jobberman. That employment website. 3 Nigerians started it, 3 young Nigerians in 2009. Olalekon Elude, Ayodeji Adewumi, and Yemi started what is today called Jobberman. They were young graduates, young undergraduates at the time that they started it. They were not even graduates. They did not have any money. They only had the idea. And they pursued that idea. Today, they are doing other things. At the time, they were at the Obafemi Awolowo University. Today, that investment has become a major investment. As a matter of fact, they have sold the investment and are themselves investing in other startups all over Nigeria and all over the world. If you look at what, I'm sure many of us have come across a website called Nairaland. How many people have come across Nairaland? A website called Nairaland. Yes. Nairaland was started by a very young boy, 20 years old at the time, also an undergraduate in the university. 10,000 naira was what he started Nairaland with. Today, Nairaland has more readership than probably all of our newspapers put together. All of our newspapers. And he started it in a room in the university. He didn't complain. He didn't come out and say, well, we don't even know what they are doing here. We don't know what they are doing for us. No. He saw the opportunity. He took the opportunity. And he's become what he has become today. Innovation is critical. We must tell ourselves, we of this nation, and young people in particular, we must tell ourselves that it's good to hear stories of the good old days. I was talking to a group of young people, and they were telling me about how, you know, in those good old days, you people in university in those days, I hear you used to have 3 meals a day, you would eat chicken on Sundays and all of that. And that your days were much better than our own. I said, no. Nobody, and you must be very suspicious of people who are always talking of good old days. There are no days that are better than the present, and no days will be better than the future. And I'll explain why. If you look at it today, the opportunities that you have today, I cannot have. I remember as a young university lecturer, when I was doing a research, just one point, I was researching an issue on illegitimacy in Nigeria. It took me 8 weeks to find the right material. 8 weeks. Today, I can sit at my desk in my study and just online, in a matter of hours, I can do all the research I need. The same country, the same person. We have all manner of opportunities now that nobody could have dreamt of some years ago.
Even a beggar on the street will have telephones, and everybody laughed. But today, that day has come. Everybody has a telephone. People have more than one telephone. The opportunities today are great. The opportunities are many. We must not keep looking back and saying, oh, maybe the good old days. The good old days are here already. The days of today are your own days. You owe yourself the responsibility of ensuring that you maximize what you have today. Education is critical. Everybody knows that education is so important. But let me just say to you, self-education is probably more important. Self-education, educating yourself. A lot of those of us, of our own generation, and people before, did a lot of self-education. A lot of self-education. I remember I was around who was telling me how he came across Marxist principles. He picked it up from reading some sheets of paper scattered all over the place. I think it was in front of the mosque that they had in front of the mosque. Marxist literature talking about how Marx learning communism, socialism and all that. And then they started to correspond with the Chinese and the socialists in different parts of the world. And they began to communicate with him. And he also began to grow in that particular ideology. Although I don't really advise you to become communist, but I'm just explaining how Ogbeni became a communist. He was communicating with those people so much. I remember in 2005, Ogbeni and I went to Cuba for his son's graduation. His son was on the scholarship in Cuba then. And we went to Cuba. We were met by all his old compatriots from the communist days. Fidel Castro was excited to see him in Cuba. And here is a man who was living in a career at the time. He had not traveled anywhere. He had not gone anywhere. But because he was curious, and because he was looking for information, and he was educating himself, he made friends without internet, just by writing letters. He made friends across the world. So that when we were going to Cuba in 2005, he was welcomed like a hero. And of course, I enjoyed the welcome with him at the time. So it's important that we understand self-education. The internet is full of ideas, full of information. There is no reason why a young Nigerian should speak only one language. No reason. No reason why you should not speak French, or Spanish, or German. And you can learn everything now on the internet. It is easy to learn. There's no excuse. Some of us who are here today, some of you young people who are here today, will be working in the United Nations. You'll be working in different UN agencies and different international agencies. But you can't do so if you are speaking only one language. You must be multilingual or at least bilingual. And you can't say, if they say which languages do you speak, you say English and Yoruba, or English and Swahili. No. You must be able to speak at least 2 international languages. And there's no reason why not. At any age, you can learn a language at any age. You must do so. We must self-educate ourselves. The other thing I want to leave with you before I close is the value of small beginnings. Small beginnings. And I think it was Dr. Yemi who emphasized that point. But don't ever assume that because today does not look good, because today you don't have enough, you don't have anything, you don't have a job, and it looks bleak, it means that tomorrow is going to be the same. No, of course not. The value that thrives, what endures forever, is the courage and persistence of human beings. That is the only thing that keeps human beings going. It is their courage, it is their persistence. The difference between success and failure is your ability to see today and say, although things are not working today, but I am sure that tomorrow will be better. And to keep to it and make sure that you work on it. I was telling, I think it was during the course of a lecture I gave, I was saying that I graduated early in life at the age of 21. I was already a graduate. I was a law graduate. I started teaching at the age of 24. I started teaching law at the age of 24. So in every way, I could be considered fortunate because I graduated early, I started teaching early. But I went through the period of my life teaching and being involved in legal practice, and very little, very, very little. Because in the university we were paid, when I started, 520 naira a month. Although you could say to do a few things. But 520 naira a month was very little money. But we kept on at it. And I explained to these people who I was talking to, but I never used a brand new car until 1998. Anybody see me in my old car in 1998 would have said, well, this man, what is he up to? He's a professor, he's an advocate, but he must look for some money somewhere. But I recognized even then but I wasn't in any hurry to look for money at all costs. No. It was important to build something. It was important for me that in the future I must be able to look back and be able to encourage some people, encourage some young people, and let them know that you don't have to steal, you don't have to cheat, you don't have to do anything untoward. Just to be successful. You don't have to. And I said that it is possible for a person to earn a salary. It is possible for you to earn a salary. It may not be much, but you are developing yourself. You are building up yourself. The time came in my life where people would give me cars. They would give me cars. I would say, and that is to underscore the fact that life itself is a journey. It's not a 100-meter dash. If you hurry too much and you go around shortcuts, you'll end up in big trouble. You'll end up in much bigger trouble. One of the reasons why, and I look at some of, there are people who will say, by the age of 30-something, I must have built a house. Why must you build a house at 30-something? I built my own house, the one I live in, at the age of 50. I moved into my house at the age of 51. And I enjoy the house. Before then, I didn't live in a house that I built myself. I rented accommodation. So there's nothing to be said. There's nothing to be said. There's nothing to be said for saying that by the age of 30 you will. So what? If God helps you and you are successful, honestly, at the age of 30, fantastic. But don't be under any pressure. Don't let anybody put you under any pressure. You must be determined to work hard, determined to be a person of integrity, determined to ensure that you build the blocks correctly, so that at the end of the day, you're able to enjoy whatever you have in peace. And I think that with that, finally, let me just say that we must also recognize that every generation owes itself the duty of converting its challenges to opportunities and to success. And you must not see yourselves, as people, as young people of the Southwest alone. Yes, you are Southwest citizens. You were born here, bred here. But you are actually citizens of the world. You are citizens of Nigeria. You must make contacts across the country. You must build bridges across the country. You must see yourself first and foremost as a Nigerian citizen. It is from this Nigerian project that we will make the kind of progress that each and every one of us wants. There's no point doing our business only in the Southwest. Nigeria is our playing field. This country is big. The advantage of our country is that it has everything that we need, and we must take advantage of it. So while we are here locally, we must think nationally, and we must think globally, and we must act nationally, and we must act globally. Thank you very much.